Hi there, this is Mo from CrochetObjet Knitting, and on today's video I'm going to be showing you how to crochet the backwards 3DC cluster as done in my Como bag pattern. I will leave a link to this pattern down below in the description box for you. This 3DC cluster made by 3 double crochet stitches but making them backwards using the stitches behind you. So let's see how we make it. Now I'm at the point where I just made my last single crochet and this is the beginning of round. So I want to start by removing this beginning of round marker, and I want to make a slip stitch in the first stitch in the round and then a chain 3. And this chain 3 counts as my first double crochet. I want to mark the third stitch on the chain 3 and I want to mark the stitch at the base of this chain 3. This marker is my beginning of round marker and this is my cluster marker. Now I want to continue making my first cluster and I want to make it into the stitches behind me. And I want to use this stitch and this stitch, and these are the stitches from the previous round. So the next stitch is going to be made here. So a double crochet stitch and the next double crochet into the one stitch before. And this is the first cluster made in the round, and now I want to go ahead and make the second cluster. So I want to skip 2 stitches and I want to count. I don't want to count the stitch where the marker is, where the cluster marker is. I want to count this one and this one, and I want to start the next cluster into the third stitch. So a double crochet into the third stitch, and now I want to remove this cluster marker from the first cluster to the stitch where I started the next cluster. And now I'll go ahead and complete this cluster. So I'll make the next double crochet in the previous stitch, and the next double crochet into the previous one. So now I used these 2 skipped stitches for my next cluster. So here is the first cluster made and here is the second cluster made. So now I want to go ahead and make the next backward cluster. I want to skip 2 stitches and make the first double crochet into the third stitch. And I'm going to remove this marker from this cluster to the new cluster. And now I want to crochet backwards 2 double crochet stitches, one into this stitch and one into this stitch. So I'm going to be using these 2 skipped stitches. So first double crochet into the previous stitch and the second into the one before. And this is the third backwards cluster made. And I will continue working just like I showed you all the way around, and then I'm going to meet you when I'm back here at the beginning of the round to show you how I close the round and how I move into the next round. So I just made the last cluster in the round and now I want to close this round. So first I'm going to take out this cluster marker and then I want to slip stitch into this stitch where my beginning of round marker is placed. So let's take it out and make a slip stitch into this stitch. And now I want to start the next backward cluster round. So first I want to chain 3. I want to place the beginning of round marker into the 3rd chain, and then my cluster marker in the stitch at the base of this chain 3. And I want to go ahead and make the first backward cluster, and I will use these 2 stitches behind me to make my first backward cluster. So first I want to make the double crochet here and then a double crochet here. So this is my first double crochet, and then the next one, and this is the first backward cluster in my second round, and I will continue working my backwards clusters just like I did before. So now I want to skip these 2 stitches and make a double crochet in the 3rd one, mark the first stitch, mark this base of the of my next cluster, and then I'm going to make 2 double crochet. I want to crochet them backwards. So 1 into the previous stitch and 1 into the stitch before. And this is the second backwards cluster made in the second round, and I will continue working just like so till I finish the second round, and then I will make the 3rd round. And this is it. This is how I make the backwards cluster as made in my Como bag pattern. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to give the video the thumbs up, and please subscribe to my channel. I will see you on my next video. Bye!